All right, it's time to welcome my live studio guest for this week's show, Art School Girlfriend. It's back with new music, and Polly is here. How are you? How's your summer been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Obviously, previous guest on the show, so it's been a little while when you last had music, which was 2023.
I know, and I still got lost on the way here.
Did you?
Yeah. I was thinking about that because I was trying to think about when that was, and I remember it was during the summer, so
Yeah.
it feels like that album was very much a summer album, and this new music is very much autumnal. So yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in and delivering the tune pretty much hot off the press. It launched last night, in fact, and it's a tune called Love You All the Time. So when did you find yourself writing this new chunk of music?
I think I started, it would have been in the February after, so February 2024, and I'd optimistically aimed to get it finished by the end of the year. And I went on tour in America with my wife, Marika Hackman, in September that year, and I had played some of the new stuff live. And so then I kind of got back and I was like, right, well, it'll be ready by spring and I'll start putting stuff out. But then I just got on this like massively creative spur, and it was that thing of being like, I have enough music to release, but I feel like I should kind of keep this wave going. And I just kept writing, and in the end, these were the songs that finished themselves. It felt like they all kind of came together and kind of crystallized, but there's still so much music that I really want to go back and revisit, because it was one of the most creative I think I've ever been in my life, which is a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's a good
3
feeling.
albums in.
Yeah, 3 albums in, when it just flows and it just keeps on coming. And this is like self-producing, self-making in your studio.
Yeah.
I remember, last time you came in, you just got the studio after
Oh, had I? Okay,
the pandemic situation, which was half your living room a studio and half your living room a living room.
Exactly, yeah. So, I built the studio, and it was like, it became like an obsession to kind of get it set up right. So like every other week I'd get everything back out, unplug everything, replug everything back in. And it just became like such a huge part of how this album, which I'm now revealing, this body of work, forthcoming body of work. This project is going to be how it was made. Like this is the first music I've self-produced since my first EPs, and it was just like this thing of having a space to just play and tinker and kind of go down these rabbit warrens. And it really felt that I was getting back in touch with like a way of making music that was like me in my room as a teenager, and kind of keeping everything secret and just not really worrying about what it was going to be, because I think this also came at a time where I was also wondering whether I wanted to kind of carry on doing music in this way of like mainstream, like releasing it and doing the kind of whole cycle. I was getting a little bit disenfranchised, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just stop Art School Girlfriend and just make music for the pleasure of it, and I'll keep the studio and I'll just come here and make every day, and I don't have to put it out. And I was like, well, if I'm going to keep coming here every day making music, then I might as well put it out. And if I'm going to might as well put it out, I might as well put it out as Art School Girlfriends. It became this like kind of like brain loop, which made me carry on exactly as I was, but with a completely different mental state. And so it became completely about the process. So it was not about necessarily how I think anyone was going to listen to it. It was just about me following my intuition in that very moment and enjoying being in the music and like making it, and just, really going quite deep into stuff.
Yeah, and was there a little bit of taking the pressure off yourself just from having that internal sort of monologue with it?
Totally. I call it like positive nihilism that I kind of reached, where it's like there's all the themes on this song, and along a lot of the other stuff is like kind of the optimistic way of looking at like giving up hope, in a way of being like, well, we might as well just make the most of the present, and although these things are really difficult, like kind of here we are, but we have each other and we have all this good stuff. And so even like this track, which is like a love song, it's kind of like, well, a love song in despite of things, which I think is probably what a lot of people are feeling right now. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more? Yeah, it's about like the resilience of love, isn't it? And can you talk a bit about that and exploring emotional territory?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because this is quite like it really marries two of my loves, which is like shoegaze music and like ambient music, and then like kind of like techno beats. The rest of the album is not kind of down that techno vibe. It's a little bit more kind of detailed and interestingly not chilled, but yeah, atmospheric and existential. But this one, I just when this that I literally loaded up a sound and was kind of playing with it, and then that first kind of opening kind of guitar synth sound just came out on the keys, and it was just like one of those moments, and then the song just like wrote itself in like an hour, and then you kind of can't remember how it happened. But I just remember thinking this is really special, and it just popped out, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit ravey.
Yeah.
Put that down. I love it. I love
Crying
it.
in the club as ever.
Yeah, crying in the club. I love it when you go a little bit more. Yeah. That sort of driving techno beat just weaves in. Was there anything that inspired the beat and the synth line that it brings so much to the track?
I have a thing where most of the music I listen to has a 4 on the floor. A lot of the stuff in my radio show, and obviously my DJ sets. Like I love kind of left field lo-fi dance music. It's like I just love it so much. But I have this thing where if I try and put a 4 on floor in any of my music, I give myself the ick. I don't know what it is. It just feels. I end up in the end doing kind of different beats and doing a lot of kind of more electronica or like future garage beats or whatever. But this one, it was just undeniable that it had to be 4 on the floor, and there's kind of like, those kind of relentless techno hi-hats. It took ages to perfect those, but yeah, I was super happy with it in the end.
Yeah. Well, I think we should hear it.
Yeah.
So this is the brand new Art School Girlfriend track. It's called Love You All the Time, and we'll chat more with Polly after this. So that is Love You All the Time. It's brand new from Art School Girlfriend. I've got Polly Mackey in the studio as my guest on this week's show. And so that's the first taster of a new, let's say a body of work, a new body of work. I remember you saying last time that you were really efficient with making Soft Landing in the fact that you'd booked the mixer in as you were still making the record. And how was it this time? Does it, I guess it felt very immediate that you were sort of just cracking on, even though this one was a bit more insular, it sounds like. What was the process like? How did it sort of compare?
Yeah, it was kind of the opposite to the last album. The last album was great because I was bouncing off my co-producer, Riley McIntyre, and he kind of in the room just makes you feel like a genius and makes you really like have conviction about the decisions you're making. You don't have that when you're on your own. And you have that. I think that a lot of this album was really interesting because I've never done therapy, but I imagine this is a little bit what like doing therapy is, where you're kind of sat in silence and you have to come up with something. And it was the idea of I had nobody to kind of take me off in a tangent if I got into a block. Like I had to work through that block, and I had to be the one kind of really taking the songs like fully to the end and like believing in my own conviction and trying not to like double guess myself or overwork stuff. And so what was really great is that then Riley came in right at the end and mixed it as well. So just having his ears was great, and just telling me that everything was okay. But my wife as well, she's an amazing producer, and so having her just like listen to stuff. And there was one track on the album that I was going to get rid of that she said is like one of the best thing I'd ever written, and if it wasn't for her, I literally would have put it in the bin. So I think having, even if people aren't coming into the studio and necessarily getting involved in the music, which she actually did with that track towards the end, she kind of helped me co-produced it because I'd completely run out of steam. But the rest of the stuff, it's the thing of like that like Rick Rubin seeding stage where you're just constantly making new stuff is really, really fun, and I could live in that forever. But it's that kind of like slight audio admin stage of the latter that kind of, that's the stuff that other people usually step in and do. And I think it was really interesting to try and like break through those kind of mental barriers. But again, it made me come up with some of my best work, and I think now I've kind of like therapy discovered a little bit more about myself than I knew before.
Yeah, the voyage of discovery that you go on making a record. And did you find the album format, once you had suddenly made all this stuff, that actually that was really nice, sort of sequencing and making more of a a journey for people with the bunch of tracks that you made?
And there was one track I had which literally I wrote the vocal for and finished it like the day before the deadline of the mix. And so it's gone from like tracks that have, like a year and a half old and have been ready for ages that I've played live, and then ones that literally the day before it's all getting kind of finished, I come up with a new thing for, and it's now one of my favorite songs. So I think that's the thing now, having a studio and having a space to just constantly make in, it kind of unhooks my brain from this idea of cycles. And I think going forward, as much as I love creating an album, like I quite like the idea of just kind of continuing putting music out, like whenever it gets finished, and then maybe they collect as an album kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'll be experimenting a little bit more going forward in terms of like how to release music for sure.
Yeah. Have you figured out how to play new stuff live? Is that in the works? Are there live shows? Is it all TBC?
There will be live shows. I actually came up with a new kind of live setup last summer for this American tour that I was doing and some other festivals, and it's very much like me and the machines. And so like I've got this thing where like I've got all these modules that are being sent MIDI, but then I'm like looping my own guitar and voice and things, and it's like it means that the same show never quite happens twice, and I can like play with other musicians when I like as well. So it's very much like crossing that thing of like live band and this kind of like more electronic setup, which I've kind of been trying to perfect for years, and I think I've kind of finally done it, which is great.
Yeah. And more remix albums?
More remix albums, absolutely. I think I'll probably do quite a few of the remixes on this one though, which will be fun.
I feel like Love You All the Time, I mean, that is waiting for the full rave in the club experience.
Yes, and then the full like ambient.
And the full,
yeah.
and the full sort of beautiful. Yes, it'll be fabulous. Well, that's so exciting. And thank you so much for coming in. I want to finish with a track from Soft Landing, which we got in 2023, Close to the Clouds. And there's probably been a bit of distance between now writing and recording and releasing that record. What does it mean to you now, this track?
I haven't listened to it in ages, actually. So this is going to be really interesting listening to it. I think that it is that thing where you kind of take for granted how much your like skill set changes and your taste changes and what it is you want to say. Like, because obviously that I only made that 3 years ago, but it feels like a completely different time. And yeah, the things I was thinking about and the way I wanted to make music was very different. And I don't feel like I've changed much, but obviously these things evolve quite strongly. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear.
Awesome. Everybody go and check out the new Art School Girlfriend track, Love You All the Time. It's streaming everywhere right now, isn't it? Thank you so much for dropping in, Polly.
Thank you so much for having me again.
And thank you, as always, for the music. Let's finish with this. This is Close to the Clouds.